Welcome, everybody. Thanks for coming in. Hey, Darkness. Good afternoon. Aha. OBS was being difficult. But yeah, been a good weekend so far. Alright, let's go. You probably get through this just using my kids. We'll see. Start here. Hey, work. Okay. I think this, as good as Buff Corn is, just with these champions, it's going to be less of a thing. Okay, and then this is the one where we get to pick anything, so we pick Second Chance because we like staying alive. Cool, don't hit his block. Hey, everybody. I wonder if we'll even get a single persistent charge, or if we'll start hitting too hard to even get to 20. Okay, no, this is going fine. Right, because he gains more power. That's one. On that note, we probably shouldn't use the special one then. I don't think I want to slow down his power gain. I may regret that decision. Come on, buddy. Thank you. Let's bait aggressively. This is not how you would normally play. Alright, now we throw this. Three charges. Moving on. Yes, it is, Magnus. Thanks, Callum. I'm glad you like him. Special stream just for Cat. Special stream for my rewards. Cool, this will be good. Doesn't Craven get endurance? Does it not build on stuns? Nope, there it is. That's weird. Oh, I think the endurance glanced the other couple. That makes sense. There she is. Good for you, War. Glad you're enjoying her. Short guide on him. I'll play him a little bit more traditionally on some of the other fights. You gain charges by inflicting debuffs or by the opponent gaining power. You want to get to 60 charges to go. Once you do, you no longer gain charges from blocking or from energy damage, but you continue to gain charges from them crossing bars of power or from debuffs. So you just want to stay really aggressive with him, and you can stay in his super mode for a very, very long time And the longer you're there, the harder you hit. He wasn't really aimed at BGs, did you? No. Hey, cat. Hmm. Energy resist is probably the way to go for these. None of them are great. That works for me, and then we'll use Blue Marvel on Surfer. Cool. Yeah, he's not aimed at Battlegrounds. There are definitely fights he can do. I saw someone call out that he's actually pretty good for Onslaught. Hold on, letting some charges expire so I can do this. Yeah, he's actually pretty good for Onslaught because he ramps really quickly from the Neuroshocks, and there are going to be a few other fights like that. There are probably going to be certain metas where he ramps faster, but it's not his primary goal by any means at all. He hits really, really hard a little bit after Battlegrounds tuning, which is very intentional. Defense is interesting. I don't think that's going to last very long. But I know that's not what you were saying. I almost got hit by that one. So that's how you speed ramp him most of the time, for the record. Then you start getting these up. Come on, throw it, Surfer. Thank you. This is gonna be such overkill. Yep. Does he ramp from Havoc's debuffs or just the detonation? Not from the debuffs themselves, because, like, the debuffs don't deal energy damage. If you eat a heavy from Havoc, excuse me, and it doesn't kill you, then yes, you would ramp from that every every half second. But I don't know that that would cross the line into a good matchup. Me too, Jency. Hey, TC. Cool, that's fine. That's more than fine. And as you can see, he ramps a little bit faster each additional fight because he does have persistent charges. But it's not like an Aegon thing. It takes a little bit for them to come online. Which, again, intentional. Probably this one. I don't know. We're not really getting great minor hacks this time. Yeah, there's definitely some commonalities with Sentry. There were some things that I wanted to do very differently, because I was frustrated using Sentry and the Necropolis run. But definitely some things that work well, yeah. Oh, the other thing I haven't touched on at all yet is he does have some light mini games. You can see the time slow down there. It doesn't slow down on the heavy. There's still a little bit of it, but... Yeah, Alejandro, I did Sam's buff. I recommend going, like, lock on immediately. Throw a special one around, like, 1.5 to 1.9 bars, and then you should probably be getting your lock on back in time for a big special, too, for the cash out. He's still not the fastest. He's more of a dual threat utility champion. But I did win a round with him in Battlegrounds earlier where he cut through a gene pretty damn quickly. Take care, TC. We need to get one of those hacks that increases crit rate during specials or gives extra prowess, those kinds of things. Okay, we could definitely go Adam. It's a good one. Yeah, it's also fine. Cool. Yeah, let's go that way. Not that it really matters. Watch Adam have something on him, like... Okay, that's fine. I was gonna say, like, Biohazard or whatever. I tried to get out of the way there, but that's on me. Oh, he tried to bait me there. That'll do it. Nice. Huge congrats on the Ascension. That's one I very badly want. I have not gotten yet. What's the other button here? Because Battlegrounds didn't reset. Oh, solo raids. Duh. Okay. Do that later. Yeah, I'm definitely going to be using Blue Marvel for as many of those challenges as I can. I haven't planned everything out yet, but he works well for some stuff. I want to see just how much this Cold Snap does on its own. That's pretty good. Take care, Nick. Gladly take that XP. Oh, no, that one's fine. That one's intentional. I was waiting for the double up. I try not to have to do them every day. Sometimes I miss it, and then I will take that shade happily. Well, that was my fault. There we go. Fair enough work. So there is that, John. There's also the fact that before his buff, Sam was literally getting worse with every new rank and rarity because of the way his special 2 scaled. I did the math, and it was a pretty rough drop-off. Alright, now I'll take Buffcorn. Fine. I don't think I want to take Arcus, so we'll go over here. Yeah. Hey, KJ. Welcome, Zephyr. Whoop! You know what? That was my fault. 50% my fault. Hey, Thom. One thing that we haven't really talked about much is just how much more cracked Storm Special 3 got. Because it is so trivially easy to be in both Tempests for this first one. Let's see what this does. Yep. Dramatic overkill. How much damage did that do? 383. Not bad this early. No, Elijah. The Blue Marvel Ascension stuff is not out. Or mine would be. Hopefully next week. She's definitely on the line, Cat. Not gonna lie. Yes, something has been wrong with the wolf for a while. Specifically on 60 FPS. Alicia. If you don't mind, thank you. Katie, I'm glad. Well, welcome back. Basically, instead of releasing 8 stars, we're doing Ascension for 7 stars. I also feel like you have to be joking because Ascension for 6 stars and 5 stars was around for a long time. But I'm gonna indulge you just in case. I'd rather be obtuse than rude. Yeah, Ascension came out for 7 stars. It's similar to what happened for 6 stars, but also different in a lot of ways. There's a bunch of levels to it. Requires character-specific stuff instead of just dust, etc., etc. No, probably not, Jason. How's it going, man? Okay, that'll work. Okay, there we go. I'm 6 away from Grace, so at the end of this stream, we'll see whatever my next Ascension will be, hopefully. Knocking on wood. It could technically be a double. That looks fine. That looks fine. That's also fine, if annoying. Yeah, I mean, there's a lot to cover for it, and there's forum posts for it, but it's basically about half a rank each. At least these first 2 are. Only the first 2 ranks are available right now. Rank 1 is pretty easy. If you pull their Ascension token, then they're just rank 1. Rank 2 requires a bit more investment. They also give a fair amount of challenge rating. It's 15 each. And then you also got this ISO burst thing, which these fights have been too short for it to fully come online. But I'm sure we'll start seeing it in the later rooms. Alright, come here. Cleanse my stun. Thank you. Very rude. Whoops, not that. Go away. Hey, Timo. Yeah, no, absolutely, John. That would be a big one. I mean, that's like asking if the plan is to make everybody come out as a 7-star a few years ago, KJ. Like, yes, Asterisk. Yes, giant asterisk. I agree, Work. Like, there are some differences, and there are absolutely some things that are worth, like, chatting about. But a lot of the discussions seem to be starting from a different place, shall we say. Okay. This should be fine, but it's probably going to be annoying. Yeah, it does too much work, Magnus. Not going to get on that soapbox, but it's kind of a bummer. I'll take that shock. Okay, that was my fault 100%. I thought it was after the special. Okay, what's going on? I really thought he was going to throw it there, and so I dodged the wrong way. How did we not get a single shock on us that whole time? That would have turbocharged things. Okay, and now I can't see. I swear that the description of it said, like, after the special, and then it was just on the special activation every time. Find it later. Okay, that's what we want. Stun effects being longer would also be nice, but this is the important. Cool. You don't have to play him, Hen. Like, if you're gonna shrug at me, I'll shrug right back at you. Hmm. None of these look fun. They should be fine. He's supposed to be slow. Because once he comes online, he kills everything. If Blue Marvel ramped the way the community keeps asking for Blue Marvel to have ramped, then the reception on his launch would have been, oh wow, I can't believe they let DLL make another OP attacker. Have we already forgotten that I literally got accused of favoritism with Paviter? Memories are short. I'm sorry, I'm coming on a little strong. But I'm tired of this because we spent a lot of time being very intentional about his ramp. Because it's kind of the only weakness he has. They did mess up Cat. It took a few days to get him added. And I realize when I say, like, the only weakness, like, some people are going to think that that's, like, they're not going to understand what I mean by that, because they're going to mean, like, well, what do you mean? He's not poison immune. But it's like, he works in so many places, and when you really understand how to use him, the kit is so flexible that it's very important that he doesn't destroy Battlegrounds and BGs and Everest content and questing. Like, he would just be good everywhere for almost everyone, right? Especially all Mystics. That's the kind of thing we just shouldn't be doing. There we go. Okay, that's the second time it's whiffed against Gore. That's kind of annoying. There we go. I do want to say, like, there's a chance that I'm wrong. And he ends up a little bit niche long term. But, like, I will just say the community has been wrong about champions that don't wow in Battlegrounds so many times that I'm pretty darn confident here. Because that's not the realistic full ramp hand. Like, yeah, I don't think you're being fair. Like, that's like saying Deathless Thanos' ramp takes 10 minutes, right? Because I don't know exactly how long it actually takes with him. I haven't tried in a long time to do 2 special 1s perfectly to get 8 Furies and then throw 10 special 3s. But that's what his ceiling is. Do you think that that's necessary for Thanos to be good? You don't have to throw 3 special 3s with Blue Marvel. You don't have to throw 3 special 3s with Photon. You don't have to throw 3 special 3s with Kushala. Huh. It's like, I like giving you special 3s that scale with a longer fight if you decide they're worth 3 bars of power. It's almost like I've done this before, and it's worked. I'm sorry I'm being glib, but, like, you just don't have to do that. If you're gonna pretend that a 60% energize is making up for the difference between 10 special 3s and 3 special 3s, then you're not being serious, and I don't really want to have this conversation. Oh, that's rude. How many special 3s does Dark Phoenix need? Technically infinite, because she has to keep doing her stuff. Like, if you mean for her special, for her, like, the maximum indefinite Nova Flames, she needs 3, but, like, realistically, to actually max her out, you need to throw 4 with her, right? Because you want to throw a special 3 to get your power gain online, and it's going to apply a weak indefinite Nova Flame. Then you have to throw your special 2 with the power gain still up so that you can have the Fury when you go back to the special 3. And then you have to do that 2 more times to get 3 strong ones. So she has some power gain, so it's not quite the same, but it's like she needs 4 special 3s and 3 special 2s. Which, again, is still longer. That's just not true, Hen. We're about to do another round of Alliance Coliseum. Dark Phoenix has been one of the best attackers every single run. Right, which is why I said you need 4 MSD. Also, hi. So that, Jency. She's correct. I think she's overtuned on offense. Just because she's really strong as a defender doesn't take away from that. Cool. We'll go this way to heal. It can be a lot of effects to clock, Joe. I definitely am not faulting you for that. Whoops. Yeah, it's my fault. And see, now you're going back to BGs. Like, I'm sorry, Hen, but you are moving the goalpost today. This is not how we play around here. Okay, so the point you're trying to make is you think that Blue Marvel needed to be an attacker for Battlegrounds because you think a science attacker is needed in Battlegrounds. But he's not. I don't agree with you. I think that science is doing just fine in Battlegrounds. I think that Mystic is actually hurting pretty bad with the existing science attackers. And Blue Marvel will also not be the only science attacker this year, right? Like, it didn't need to be him. Totally fine if that's what you wanted from him, and you're disappointed that he's not that. But I don't agree with your read of what the meta needs right now. Whoops. I forgot the cleanse starts. Woo! That's bad. There we go. Got her over the middle. That's my boy. Alright. Why do they keep throwing us Proud Degen? I don't want it. Let me tell you of our Lord and Savior, Shocker Elijah. Also, let's not pretend Nimrod isn't a nuke just because he's not good for Onslaught. Mhm. Yeah, I'll take the buff and debuff duration. Thank you, Jack. I knew I was forgetting somebody obvious. Jack is absolutely a nuke. I like him in the middle because I think it tends to actually be better power control. Um, Defender's Corner is often a little bit faster, but I think that's basically what it boils down to. I think you have more control in the middle. So Jugs is bad because he can't nuke null. There you go. Problem solved. Everybody pack it up. That should be fine. That's not necessarily true either, Hen. Like, I understand that you are definitely coming at this from the perspective of endgame BGs. But if you are the kind of person where you're not comfortable using a Spider Ham or a Luke Cage or any of the other options that Kindred definitely has in Battlegrounds, if your concern is just, I hate fighting Kindred because I die to him and I need a way to not lose that round, and you are at all lower down in Battlegrounds, which is, as a reminder, the vast majority of the player base, then Blue Marvel finishing the fight in 60 seconds ish is not an auto loss. Like, as a reminder, a lot of the times when endgame players are evaluating characters for Battlegrounds, they're evaluating for a minority. A tiny, tiny minority. If you think that Kindred needed an answer in Battlegrounds because he's that dangerous, then Blue Marvel is that answer. Because he's possibly the single safest attacker into Kindred, right? And a lot of players are going to be able to do that and then put down an Onslaught or one of the 24 other defenders that are valid and dangerous, even if endgame players have them answered. And they're going to be able to win that match a large percentage of the time. Like, I did not design Blue Marvel for Battlegrounds because if I design for Battlegrounds, I design for the minority at the top. I know that, right? I'm not going to pretend that that's not how these things work. But if you're saying that there's a need in the player base, he didn't necessarily miss. Hey, wait. Yeah, I mean, even amongst the people who are more engaged, we often don't hear about this because, like, most people aren't self-assured enough, even if they're in these conversations, like if they're engaged enough to be on Discord or in a YouTube chat or anything like that. It's not fun to be the person who speaks up and goes, actually, I get my butt kicked every single time I try to use Spider Ham against Kindred. Doesn't really feel like a counter. I get my butt kicked every single time I try to use Shocker against Onslaught. Doesn't really feel like a counter. Like, those people exist, and there are a lot of them. And so a blue Marvel being slow but a safe option for Kindred in Battlegrounds may have as much value for them as, like, maybe not as much, but like a similar value to people who put Maker in their Battlegrounds decks just for Onslaught. Like, I don't put Maker in my Battlegrounds deck just for Onslaught, right? There are other things he works for. He's fast enough. You can do some weird stuff with him. I'm not comparing them exactly, but you kind of get the point, right? Like, Maker would not make my deck if it was just for Onslaught. But there are players where that's enough. I think that's the point I'm making. Exactly, work. But I didn't want that, James. Like, you're missing the core point, which is that Blue Marvel didn't need that. Because if he had that, then he would be good in every mode. And I think he would have been too good in every mode. I hate fighting Kindred too, Sips. I feel that too, work. Alright, let's be careful with Power Snack here. I hate this. Come on, throw it. Thank you. Right, when did I do that? Come here. Thank you. Like, let me run back to James's question for a second, because I do think this is important, and it's going to be an argument that I know a lot of people are just not going to care about, and that's fine. But not every character should start ramped in Battlegrounds. Um, like Spider-Punk does, but Spider-Punk doesn't really have long form ramp the way Blue Marvel does. It's more just like it goes up and it plateaus. It's a good plateau, right? But it's not the same kind of kit. Spider-Punk is not really aimed at Necropolis or that kind of Everest the same way Blue Marvel is. And so Spider-Punk would lose more without that ramp. There's a possibility they didn't need it anyway, right? But like, yeah, I don't think they needed this, or I think they need it more than Blue Marvel does. Similarly, with not similarly actually, a completely different issue is that for someone like Thanos, I made him very strong, yes, on purpose, but he's using very old keys, right? Like he's using a debuff to stop, evade, and miss, right? He's using unstoppable passives that you have to block for. He's using armor break debuffs and armor shattered debuffs. He's using stuns that he really needs, or not, yeah, no, actually really needs, because his heavy reach is pathetic. He's using fury buffs, right? He's using energize buffs. Like he's using so many things that so many champions counter. That even, like, I think it's okay that Thanos starts with a bit more. Or actually, no, Thanos doesn't even start with more. Thanos just has his Sig, right? It's the Odin sleep thing. That was intentional for me. What am I saying? I think the point here is that, like, it's okay for Thanos to be a strong attacker in basically every mode. Both because I did give him the Odin sleep thing, and so in questing you're supposed to swap with him. And because he's using those older keys. What Blue Marvel is doing is a lot of really, like, new, pretty protected stuff. And from a design standpoint, that makes it riskier to make him good in every mode, right? So we just were more careful with him. And it's fine if you think that we were wrong to be more careful with him, but it's also our job to be careful, especially because y'all as an aggregate are so incredibly loud about us ever fixing mistakes. So I don't think we were wrong, right? I think Blue Marvel is tuned the way he needs to be. But if we are wrong, I will still have no regrets because this was the safer thing to do. And that's not a very fashionable thing to say. Because, like, what some people are going to take away from that is DLL admits Kabam undershoots when they have cool ideas. And that's not what I said. Because, like I said, I think we got it right. But if we didn't, then I'd rather him come in a little low than a little high. Never loud. Somebody get Jason another old fashioned so he'll prove himself wrong. What do I want to do here? Yes, light attacks. That's so useless. And thank you, James. I do appreciate that. Not really Abyss. I mean, like Blizzard said, there was there was basically no literature when we added Future Ant-Man. I read everything that had been printed with Kushala in it when I was designing her, and it took me like 2 hours. It's that. It's more just we try to balance things out, right? Like we try to balance different corners of the Marvel universe. We try and balance the classes. I will be completely blunt and unapologetic. We do try and balance representation a bit because it matters and it's important. And if you think it's not, then go sit in the corner. And then we also try and balance smaller heroes that like some people will be excited about, but that we know are not gangbusters, with those big ones that we know have broad appeal, because we kind of have to space those out because we don't have as many of them anymore as we used to. No, don't tell me that. I'm gonna be so sad. You're probably right, though. 1 second. Okay, well, matchmaking hasn't started. Thank you for saying something. This interface stinks. I haven't actually set bans in God knows how long. This sucks. Okay, well, whether you like them or not, they're set now. Thank you for saying something. Um, no, you're absolutely correct, John. It's like Thanos and Blue Marvel had different budgets to that extent, but like I'm saying, even within that, like you can compare them to somebody else too. Thanks, Stalingrad. That is a good way to put it, because that is exactly what it is, right? Where yeah, I mean, I realize that people sometimes think that we're paternalistic about it, but that's because we unfortunately have somewhat of the parent role here, right? We have to manage it, and we have to like balance giving players what they want with not giving players what they want. That is what game design is. And it's yeah, we do our best. We're not always going to be perfect. I'll leave that. Okay, do I have an answer to Scorpion? That should be fine. Yeah, that'll be all right. That's fine. That's fine. Rasputin would be cool. I would fight people for that. I definitely can't comment on a Stellar Forged Apocalypse idea, but I hear you. Yeah, APOC could be like any of 4 classes pretty easily. Exactly. I've said this before, but like one of our former econ designers likes to say that if the fun in our game was having things, then devs would just play on the dev server all the time. Yeah, it's gonna hurt. But we don't, so that must mean that the fun of our game is actually trying to unlock the things, right? And that's going to sound counterintuitive for somebody who's frustrated by the things they don't have, but We absolutely have to balance those things. Are you assuming she would be a defender, Jency, or are you just worried she'd be OP in the other way? Yeah, Deathlock was in Summoner's Choice, Storm. Yeah, I don't know when they'll be back. I'm assuming they're coming eventually. Okay, I did still take the power sting. Oh no! Does this have redlining? It must have redlining. No. It's just blocking specials consume stuff? Okay, well that's not fun. I'm gonna be honest, wait, I don't remember off the top of my head. Because there's persistent charges, but I think... I could be wrong here, because I haven't really dug into Heimdall since I made that video. I think it's you get some from persistent charges, and you get the rest from converting the indefinite buffs into passives. Not exactly how I wanted to fight Scorpion, but that worked okay. Yeah, that... I shouldn't have punished that. I swear, he has like 100% chance to evade immediately following a special one. Okay, Captain Britain safeguards. Yeah. Mutant Kingpin. You know what's interesting? One of the tower defense games I like, Nordhold, has this option where, like, one of the things you can unlock as you go, it's a roguelike tower defense, but one of the things you can unlock as you go, as you're building things, is, like, you get a certain number of banishes each run. And what a banish is like you see a hack, like in this case, I would see something like Umbral Vanguard, which I think it's cool that it's in the pool, right? If you want to do a Deathless run, it's really, really good for them. But if I see something like Umbral Vanguard in a run where I don't want that, then I would use one of my banishes to say, like, not only do I not want this, I don't want to see it in any of the pools going forward. And you don't want to give out too many of those because then it shrinks the RNG too much. But I think that's kind of like a neat way to do the agency. If that makes sense. Cool, that's fine. That's also fine. At least it's indefinite. When comparing energy resistance versus penetration, does the game use the raw values, the percentage those values represent? Both is the quick answer. It's kind of complicated. So both are flat values. But when you're using resistance versus vulnerability, that's along the same axis. And so if it's like 5,000 energy resistance and then 7,000 points of energy vulnerability, then they're directly additive, and you end up with 2,000 points of energy vulnerability, and then that gets turned into a damage amplification, right? Similarly, if it's like 5,000 points of energy resistance and 4,000 points of vulnerability, then it's 5,000 minus 4,000, and you get 1,000 points of energy resistance, right? Whatever percentage that turns into. If you have 5,000 points of energy resistance and 4,000 points of energy penetration, from what I remember, and please put an asterisk on this before quoting me, from what I remember, both of those numbers are run through diminishing returns. And then they're subtracted. Which means that, like, the 5,000 points of energy resistance might be something along the lines of, let's say, 40% resistance, and it depends on the challenge rating, right? And instead of an even 32%, the 4,000 points of energy penetration might be something more like 33 or 34%. And so then the actual energy resistance that you still have access to is 6%. Of course, this is also complicated because if it's an actual hit that does energy damage, then you're also taking into account armor, but hopefully that's enough to answer the main question, Magnus. Soulbarb updates over time. It's one of the only dots that does that. And it's simply because, like, that's the only way that it can adjust with how many buffs the opponent has, right? It needs to go up and down. I guess technically, now that I say that, we probably could build it a different way, and maybe even should. Although, of course, if we did, people would get mad at us because we were nerfing Kushala. But yeah, that's why. It's because Soulbarb needs to update, and so when you get the Furies outside of the specials, or if you lose them, right, in something like Power Shield, then that's what's happening. Your attack value is changing, and therefore the damage is changing. Yeah. It's specifically good. It's good for getting around Yelena, for the same reason that Vox is good at getting around Yelena, because he also uses an update. And actually, now that I say that, another updating source of damage is Havoc's Heavy. I haven't tried Havoc for Yelena, but it's probably pretty darn good. Hey, Santiago. Going pretty well. I'm having fun. Yeah, most stats like go through challenge rating somewhere in there. Health and attack don't. But most stats, the way that they work is that like when you're generating something, either a base stat or a modification to a stat, you give a percentage to the game and it turns it into a flat value based on their challenge rating, right? So off the top of my head, I remember this number. Like when I shipped Absorbing Man, 80% was like 8,400 on a 6-star rank 5. And so 6-star rank 5 Absorbing Man has 8,400 physical resistance in Uru form. But then 7-star Absorbing Man has more than 8,400. It's the same number that goes into it, right? The 80%. But it goes up with challenge rating. Now, when the game is actually calculating damage and things like that, it is reconverted to a percent using both champions' challenge rating. And the effect that will have to shortcut a whole bunch of math is to take it back to that 80% if the two champions are on even footing, right? If 6-star rank 5 Absorbing Man is fighting 6-star rank 5 Absorbing Man, then he meaningfully has 80% physical resistance. If 7-star rank 5 Absorbing Man is fighting 7-star rank 5 Absorbing Man, then they both have meaningfully 80% physical resistance. But if the 6-star is fighting the 7-star at like a, what is that? That's almost like a 200 difference in challenge rating, then the 6-star is going to reduce damage by significantly less than 80%. Probably off the top of my head, somewhere around 70, 72. And the 7-star is going to reduce incoming physical resistance or physical damage by more than 80%. Somewhere around like 82-ish. Does that make sense? Hey, Vital's been a bit... That would be more of Mordo nerf than a Kushala one. True. No, Magnus, because the 50% physical resistance and 50% armor are both added together as flat values before they are converted back to a single percentage for damage reduction. And therefore, their combined value is subject to diminishing returns, and so you can't get to that 0. Yeah, no problem, Stone God. I'm glad that helps. My brain hurts. That's fair. This is not simple. It's one of the reasons that I'm glad I'm pretty good at math for my job, because it does matter. Oh, her just randomly throwing heavy sucks. Alright, well. I don't know. I don't know that benchmark is the word that I would use, but I don't know that it's wrong. It's more that it's just like, it's a scaler to make sure that rank and rarity matters for stats. It's more complicated than a nuclear fission article I was reading. That's funny. Okay, well, if heroes don't gain power, then I won't use a hero. Damn it. Okay, let's try and get used to those reverse controls, shall we? At least they're always on. Not gonna stop me from messing them up at the start. Or after the start, apparently. I think I actually want the longer one from the Special 3 here. Alright, let's see what damage this does, but I don't think it'll kill. Yep, that was good. So much regen. Oh no! I didn't have 6, because she's not gaining power. That's actually making our life a lot harder. I think I need to just back off. Oh, that sucked. I was gonna say we just need to gain power with heavies exclusively because it's safe, and I missed a parry. There we go. So challenge rating is like pressure for physics. That's... I think that's actually a pretty good comparison. Yeah. Is it up to me to decide on the prestige of the new champions, or is that someone else's job? It's mostly up to the primary designer. There are... If we're not sure, we talk to the team at large. We have some general guidelines for it, and we also, like, the econ team set up the outlines for us, and we'll update them as time goes on. Because how much prestige goes up over time is functionally a resource game, right? So that's an econ designer's job to decide how quickly it should go up. Especially now that it's affecting things like adaptive EQ. Jubilee is comic accurate Wolverine. Yeah, maybe I should have used... No, because if I'd used Paviter, then I wouldn't have gained any power, and I wouldn't have had access to the Special 3 with its extra neutralize. That would have been bad. Yep, that was the correct one. I don't know that that's been announced, Storm. We do know it's coming, but... Yeah, I don't think there's anything else I can say. Airwalker with automatic armor breaks is sneakily awful. I'm sure Paviter can still do it, but that's worth calling out. Yeah, I think that'll still be fine. I'm gonna do that. We're seeing so much Scream today. And she's one of the challenge bosses, right? But I would rather see more Craven. We finally got some big numbers there. We're just not getting the runway for him. I think I do have a bit of bias for my own characters, yeah. And it's like a certain amount of it is because like I put work into them, and so it's like I'm proud of it. But I think part of it is also just there are so many choices that you can make during a character design where other people would have made different choices that would have been valid, right? Um, and that's why we have like a principal designer for every character, because ultimately someone just has to make the call, right? There are 3 or 4 things that could happen, and you got to pick one, and that just happens dozens of times. And so if you're the one making those calls, and every time there's a branch of 3 or 4 different possibilities, you pick the one that aligns with your preferences, with your definition of fun, you're probably just going to enjoy the character that comes out the other side of it more. And so, like, I think I'm just naturally going to enjoy my own characters a little bit more without that being a shot at anyone else's. It's fit for my personal preference the same way that if I'm making all of the... Assuming I know what I'm doing, right? If you fast forward past my learning process and I make all the decisions in, like, blending a bottle of whiskey, I'm probably gonna like that more than somebody else who knows the same amount of what they're doing the same process. If that makes sense. Basically what Elijah said. No, magic wasn't mine. There's a certain amount of that as well work. I'm very sensitive to certain kinds of failure points. I I realize you're probably being sincere there, K7, and I don't think that you're trying to like start a fight or anything, but like that's not a good question. So I'm trying to make sure I'm being constructive in how I push back on it, but like that's not how it works. Kabam is not a person, right? Kabam is a bunch of people. So when you're asking that, what you're asking is like, did my friends and coworkers in the balance department ruin my vision? And like that, my vision for a character has nothing to do with how much damage they do or how much they heal, right? I think that's the thing that the player base gets the most wrong about things like this. Our vision of a character is never about how quickly they clear in Battlegrounds, or it shouldn't be. Because that's not a vision of a character. That's a vision of a number. My vision for Patriot was a counter for Photon that doesn't care if she ramps. My vision for Patriot was a character that put debuffs on themselves and moved that ecosystem forward. My vision for Patriot was somebody who answered unblockable. My vision for Patriot was somebody who incorporated the new reversal mechanic that I had the idea for into an offensive kit in a way that felt fun. I don't know how a balance designer would mess with any of those. Whether the vision succeeded or not is entirely up to me. As for if the question you're asking is it somebody else's fault that he shipped performing poorly enough to get nerfed, then no, not really. No more than it is anybody else's, and no more than it is anybody else's fault when somebody ships who's too strong. Like, it's a collaborative process. I can definitely point to things that I think in hindsight were mistakes that, like, changes I made in the process that other people suggested or that were the result of their feedback that were probably mistakes. But that's more than balanced out by all the times that I make changes based on my coworkers' feedback, and it's absolutely the right thing to do, right? I've talked about this before, but the buck stops with me when it's my character, and it's my job to push back the correct amount. And if Patriot shipped a little bit weaker than he should have, then that's my fault, right? I'm still quite proud of the design. I think how little he had to change in his buff and how good he is now speaks to that. I did a good job. But, like, we're not perfect. We're humans. No, he wasn't, K7. No, he wasn't. That's one of the worst. It's one of the worst narratives that the player base has allowed itself to fall into, and I'll address that later. And again, I know that's not your fault because it's a narrative that the community has, like, fully embraced, and I think some things were probably said a little poorly when this topic first came up. But Ebony Maw was not nerfed. Ebony Maw was tuned down because he was doing too much damage, right? And if being tuned down made him too weak, then bluntly it means his designer didn't get the balancing elements correct, right? Because I don't want this to come off as like the balance team can never make a mistake. They can. But a large part of the process is the champion designer getting the character into a place where they're easily balanceable, right? Part of our job is setting up the levers so that they can pull them intelligently, right? It's how do I say this? Like, I don't know. I'm coming up with like cooking metaphors in my mind right now, if that makes any sense. Um, like if I give somebody a cookie recipe and it says like salt to taste, that's probably fine, right? But if I put flour to taste, then that's like objectively a worse recipe. And that's kind of what I'm getting at. Is that like Ebony Maw's designer was very, very smart, right? I'm not taking away from that. They did a lot of great things, had very brilliant designs. But if Ebony Maw's degen was too strong and bringing it down to a reasonable level made the character not land well, then that means Ebony Maw's designer kind of wasn't done, in my opinion. Like, I think that means that there was more to do, ironing things out, getting them in a better spot and a more flexible spot, making sure that there were more things for the balance team to tune before it went to balance. Because that's the job. Like, balance is supposed to fine tune things with the levers that you give them. They're not supposed to redesign the champion if you give them something that is poorly balanced. That's not the job at all, right? Um, and I think if they end up needing to do that, then it means the job wasn't done yet. And again, I'm not necessarily throwing that at Ma's designer, because like the job is tough, right? And we used to have less time. Maybe he just needed a couple more weeks. Maybe he just needed one more week. Um, but like that's kind of what I'm getting at. That like Ebony Maw was not nerfed. I think that just means that the design was brittle enough that when it got tuned, bad things happened. If that makes sense. It's kind of in to put it another way, so that you know I'm not just taking shots at people. Look at Kate, right? We felt like Kate was probably not exactly where we wanted her, and so we tuned up her cold snap a little bit kind of near the end. In hindsight, that was a mistake. And that was a mistake that arguably was made because I didn't have quite enough time with her, right? I've said this before. She was the least amount of time I had with any of my designs, and she was only my second ever. Like, some things got rushed. I wasn't quite done. I think if I were making Kate now with all of the same goals and ideas, I would have had her in a place where it just would have been easier for balance to get it exactly right. Yeah? I think they just mean offensively work. Because there's this narrative that came out where it's like, oh yeah, Ebony Maw just did an incredible amount of damage before release, but then like, Kabam doesn't let people have fun, so we nerfed the crud out of that. It's like that's, and I'm not putting words in K7's mouth. That's not what you said, but I feel like that has kind of become the narrative, and I just want to clarify that's not how it works. Any creations that I consider more optimized in terms of being a designer? I mean, I'm quite fond of a lot of my characters and proud of a lot of things. I have little quibbles with a lot of them. I think if we're talking like optimized, the one that I would point to that I'm maybe the proudest of from an optimization standpoint is Kushala. She doesn't have that many lines of code. It's one of the shorter info pages I've shipped. I don't think it's that difficult to understand. The resources flow into each other really well. Every special has a purpose. Every blessing has a purpose. I think her gameplay has clear direction no matter what's going on, but it's flexible. Yeah. That's kind of like, in terms of like getting a design really, really polished, that's the goal. Thanks, Walrus. I appreciate that. Yes, the guy who made Zemo is still working here. Who was his last one? Oh, his last one was the Doctor Strange rework. Yeah, he's very good at what he does. Okay, if I remember correctly, unlimited power doesn't stop neutralizes, so that should be fine. Around the week is a bit annoying, but that should also be fine. Tunnel vision is toxic. Okay. I'll deal with the Scarlet Witch. I am grateful Kate didn't make it into the early 7-star pool, because I think that maybe she won't need to be changed because there will have been enough power creep by the time we do release her as a 7-star, but also maybe, it gives us more time to do something about it. There's a lot of cool stuff in that kit, but the cold snap hits too hard. Why would you need to relearn her? Where does that assumption come from? Stupid poison. Hate Scarlet Witch so much. Nice, Storm. That sounds like a cool fight. Very cool, Hazama. That sounds fun. I wish you luck. I need to get those withers up ASAP. Prey on the Weak sucks. Aw, man. The light hit didn't land. I was hoping the intercept would work. My bad. Definitely should have gotten those up. That's alright. Alright, well, here you are seeing that Blue Marvel is still somewhat crit reliant, because these fatigues are so annoying. I probably should have gone to Special 3, trying to keep some of them off, and gotten the permanent ones, but that's okay. Aw, sorry to hear that, Iron Spider. And welcome, Baker. Nah, you're making a lot of assumptions there, K7, that just don't hold up. Magic's kit was changed because her kit was fundamentally too powerful. And it was built around my opponent doesn't get to play the game, right? Because that's what that kind of power control does. And if you took out that power control, there wouldn't really be anything left, which is why we needed to add some more complexity, which turns into it fully changing, right? Kate's primary problem is that her Cold Snap deals too much damage without ramp. If you fix that, she still has a kit. She still has a pretty involved kit. She still is a very powerful kit. We don't have to replace that, right? There's basically no chance that we would. Like, if I were redesigning Kate from the ground up right now, I would probably it would take more work, but I would know how to do it now. I would build the America Chavez synergy so that the third arrow was half potency. And I think I would first try reducing Kate's baseline crit damage, so that her Cold Snap needed the fragilities to be strong, but still did get very strong. If that wasn't enough, I would then tune down the Cold Snap a little bit on its base, but like that's where I would start. It would also allow you to kind of make meaningful choices with stat focus and relics and stuff. And then if I was truly going to change everything, I personally would change her true accuracy, as thematic as it is, to a pursuit. And then I would let her keep true accuracy against science, right? Because, like, let her still hit MODOK and High Evolutionary, but I don't think she needs to be hitting tech auto blockers the way she does. Like, that, in hindsight, was just a mistake. But we also didn't have the pursuit type then, and so I didn't feel like I should make a new type, and I probably just should have. But, like, that is... I'm not saying we would make all of those changes if she was released as a 7-star, or exactly those changes. But I'm fully willing to nerf characters, and I'm saying that's as much as I could see us doing. I really can't imagine going further. And that's not a completely different kit, and that's not something that you would need to relearn. That's cool stuff. Yeah, I'm never calling him that. He's Blue Marvel or Adam. It's not my favorite either, stop it. Yeah, I was late on that intercept. There we go. Would I reduce her block proficiency? No. Because despite what some people are going to complain about, which bluntly I think is a little bit rooted in misogyny, she needed the block proficiency to bait heavies. The kit was built around it. Why would I change that? Thanks, Hassan. That's kind of annoying, but it should be okay. Escalating assault on him is awful. Okay, what do you have? That's also fine. Okay, we're going that way. Was the Kushala interaction with the Witch's Relic intentional? Yes. That one was very, very intentional. Would it have maybe been tuned a little bit differently? If I had been in control of the relic as well, yes, but... There we go. Still don't understand how people think the new Magic Kit is bad. I've got an answer for that one. Because they're not good with it. Yeah, I do think Caltrops should come back. Oh, Joey, so my buffs weren't getting placed on him because of the neutralize on me. So, like, he was crossing through my traps, and I was trying to place buffs on him, but it wasn't happening because they were still my buffs. I like most of the model changes. I do think Venom got a little bit too, like, blue. And I'm definitely not a fan of all the profile changes, but I think the models have generally been quite good. Nice, Osama. I had some good food while I was in San Francisco. Some neat stuff. Whoops, that was my fault. Oh, that hurt. Oops. Please don't kill me. Okay. Okay. Nah, that one was my fault. Yeah, exactly, Joey. Question mark is going to break. My wife really likes gulab jamun as well. I think when it's good and when it's warm, gulab jamun might be mine. I'll be honest, like some Indian sweets are a little bit too sweet for me as their primary flavor. So for that version or for that reason, Halwa is definitely one of my go-tos. It's a little heartier. I like that. What's the one? Oh, it's not really Indian, but like Faluda is good. We just recently tried out a new place not too far from us that has some solid mitais. They had really good Faluda. I don't think they do halwa, but their gulab jamun were pretty good. You can get them by the pound. I agree with that, John. There's a certain honesty to it, even if I think it's dumb. There she is. I tried to magic a Rintra in arena. Oh, that sounds awful. Yeah, that is kind of my one complaint about some of the new models, Cat. And maybe it's more a lighting complaint than a model complaint, but like a fair number of them are more blue than black. Wait, it's a cruise. Now you sound like your recruitment officer. Ooh, okay. Yeah, that's fine. That's fine. See, I actually like the OG Spidey remodel in most ways, but I do miss the old eyes. I think that was a mistake. Whoop! That hurt. And don't get me started on the bunks. I don't know whose voice that was supposed to be, but it felt right. probably should have gone straight to special 3 here, but that's alright. We'll do enough. Oh no, wait, I shouldn't have, because Tranquility is stupid! How am I not breaking through this protection shielding? Well, I know how, because he has a ton of health, but still annoying. There we go. Whoa! I hadn't heard that yet somehow. Good on y'all. At least the gym is nice. Yeah, that makes sense. Oh. Here, boy. I'm generally in favor, Spider. I don't think it needs to... I don't think the generally available version one necessarily needs to be as updated as the CCP one. But there should be something. Animation team as filtered through the technical artists with input from the designer, if that makes sense, Chippy. Nice. Of course, that's Riri's title. That's so good. I will, Ken. Nice, Iron Spider. I'm glad to hear. No, I have not. I was actually in San Francisco all week, Joey. For GDC, the Game Developer Conference. It was a great experience. A lot of good talks, made some new friends, hung out with coworkers, ate good food, drank maybe too much alcohol. Um, but yeah, so I'm behind on content, hence this stream here. All right, 30 is a good number. All right, who are we getting from Pity? Heck yes. All right, that's one of the top 3. Not a lot in that 10 pop. Jeez. If we did, we wouldn't be able to say anything, Stalingrado. And then just more maxes. Oh, come on, Cat. You can be happy for anybody other than yourself. Surely I get credit here. I hit back to crystals, and I almost clicked by 10 more empowered ones. It's weird that it resets. I don't think that's on purpose. I do hope you get him soon, Cat, as you know. It makes me feel a bit better, Osama. His head is so tiny. Well, have you heard, Joey, that canonically he's hunched up in a cannonball so his back doesn't break? What a silly, silly character. Humans do contain multitudes. Should I open another Titan? Whew, it's a lot of shards. I am sitting on them and thinking for a moment, though, I'll admit. I think I can open another Titan. Well, that is an Heimdall. But that's okay. Statistically, it probably wasn't gonna be. Anything here? Yes. You got me running in circles here. Yeah, Heimdall period is the only thing I'm missing. It's funny word. Oh yeah, and I still... There... No. Oh, it's over here. Yeah, there's limbo tokens. Cool. I probably could have been more intelligent with my Radiant spending, but that's something. Might as well do this. You told me how many you had, Flops. I don't know that you told me what you got. I'm assuming all of the things. I can understand, Miguel. I do think it was absolutely the correct choice to not have them in the Titan because we just open way too much, or way too many Titans these days. But I get it. I personally would like another source somewhere. Am I going for first appearance magic? I guess so, because like I'm certainly on my way. No, I'm not planning on spending money. I don't make the Greater Ascension Crystal a shard-based one. Um, it's basically the same. Like that's why the regular empowered crystal is a grace crystal, right? Because it's balanced around. It's effectively a shard crystal, right? We could have just made it so that you got shards instead of those crystals every time, and then you just opened the greater ones. But this way, you have a chance of getting them more often, right? The idea was that that would actually be more fun and more dopamine than just collecting shards and opening base pools, but I don't know. Fine if you don't feel that way. I'm gonna have to spend actual resources, or is there more here? Go away. Also go away. Okay, yes, there's more. Then I'm not spending those resources. Um... Alright, I guess I need to do other things. Which requires more Battlegrounds and more side quests. Okay. That's fine. Let me go ahead and max her out, though. No, because the whole, and I'm sure you know this, Elijah, but the whole point was that if you're not getting magic with just Radiance, then it costs you some money. Alright, where is she? You up here now? Yeah, okay, cool. I could probably go ahead and equip a relic. It doesn't have to be a good one, that's fine. Eh, we might want more than that. Okay, we'll just do like a bad... Do I have a bad 6-star relic? Yeah, we'll make her a little tankier. It was more fun. I'm glad to hear that. And our economy team will also be glad to hear that. Shards could be given out for completing smaller content and it builds up. No, that's literally what's happening, Iron Spider. Like, you are getting these empowered crystals for getting goblin, or for collecting limbo goblins, which, like, is requiring you to do such difficult things as completing Battlegrounds matches, as winning 10 fights with any female champion in any mode anywhere in the game. Like, it's not difficult content, right? There's some in EQ, which I haven't done yet. Like, we can give them out in all the same places we can give shards out. Yeah. Okay. We're on the same page. I won't belabor that. Okay. I think I'm gonna call it here. This was fun. I've got more content to come this week. I also want to try and balance it with writing up, or yeah, doing some videos on some of the GDC talks I did for my members, so keep an eye out for those. And I'm gonna try and be better about war videos this season too. I'm not gonna do a video every war. I feel like those days are just fully behind me. I have too many other things I want to do. But I am gonna try and do weekly highlights. I've definitely got some things to talk about. But yeah, I will see y'all soon. I'm gonna go make tea and play Slay the Spire until dinner. Take care, everybody. Thanks for hanging out. Really appreciate y'all.